Donald Trump's way of speaking, it's probably one of the most recognizable, and let's face it, most debated communication styles out there. But if we move past just our own opinions, what does the science of linguistics actually tell us about how it all works? In this explainer, we're going to park the politics for a bit and really analyze the mechanics of his language, the structure, the strategy, and the impact, all based on some pretty detailed linguistic research. All right, so here's our roadmap for this breakdown. First, we're going to tackle the simple speech myth. Then, we'll dive into his really interactive conversational style. After that, we'll unpack how he frames politics as this constant fight. And finally, we'll look at the specific ways he uses language to control the story.
Okay, first up, the most common thing you hear about his language is that it's just simple. But the linguistic data? Well, it suggests there's a whole lot more going on right under the surface.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen a headline just like this one. It's a really sticky idea, right? And because it seems to be backed by data, it's created this powerful public image that his language is just, well, unsophisticated.
But that really makes you wonder, are these automated tests even the right tools for the job? Linguists have actually dug into this, and what they've found kind of complicates that whole simple narrative.
So where do these 8-year-old claims come from? Almost always, it's this tool right here, the Flesch-Kincaid test. Now, it's a perfectly good tool for what it was built for, which is figuring out how easy a book or an article is to read. But look closely at that description. It's designed for written text, and that, right there, is the key.
And this table really just gets to the heart of the whole problem. It's a fundamental mismatch. I mean, think about it. Spoken language is messy, it's interactive, we're making it up as we go, we use shorter sentences, and we repeat ourselves because we're thinking out loud. Written language is the complete opposite. It's planned, it's edited, it's polished. So using a writing test on speech is, well, it's like trying to judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree. They're just totally different animals.
So the bottom line is the entire simple speech narrative might just be built on a faulty foundation. Linguists pretty much agree that these tests just don't get the unique, live, unscripted nature of talk, and that leads to a completely distorted picture of its complexity. So if it's not just simple, then what is it? Okay, let's move on and explore how his style is actually built to be super interactive, creating this really powerful direct connection with his listeners.
This slide is just a perfect illustration of what we're talking about, the difference between the script and the actual performance. So look at the left. That's the clean, simple line from the teleprompter. Now look at the right. That's what he actually said. He just launches into this personal, kind of rambling story about how he first hated the phrase, throws in an anecdote about Frank Sinatra, and suddenly a political slogan is transformed into what feels like this shared, behind-the-scenes moment.
Now, most of us think of repetition as a mistake, a sign of being a bad speaker. But what linguists have found is that in spontaneous speech, it's actually a really powerful tool. As you can see here, it creates a rhythm, it gives the audience a chance to process what they're hearing, and, this is crucial, it buys the speaker precious milliseconds to figure out what they're going to say next, all without losing the flow of the conversation.
And it's not just repetition. His speeches are absolutely packed with other conversational tools. He uses contractions all the time, like don't and can't, which makes everything sound more informal. He uses directives like look and believe me that grab your attention. And the constant use of you and we just keeps reinforcing that bond between him and the audience, making a giant rally feel more like a one-on-one chat.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We've talked about the style, now let's talk about the substance. A core theme that researchers have identified is this constant framing of politics, not as, governing, but as a relentless high-stakes fight.
To really get this, we need to touch on a quick linguistic idea, the conceptual metaphor. Now, this isn't just some poetic thing. It's a fundamental way our brains actually work. We understand abstract concepts, like politics, by mapping them onto something more concrete that we already get, like a fight or a game. And the research shows that the single most dominant conceptual metaphor in Trump's language is this one right here. Politics is a zero-sum competition. It's not about compromise or finding common ground. It's about winning, and it's about losing. And this simple, powerful frame shapes just about everything he says. And he doesn't exactly hide this worldview. This quote from 2015 just lays it all out there, plain as day. The keywords are all right there. Fight back, brutal, tough, and of course, the ultimate goal, win. This isn't just talk. It's a really clear statement of his underlying philosophy. And this whole politics is a fight metaphor, it's backed up by a very consistent linguistic toolkit. Opponents aren't just people you disagree with. They're given these aggressive nicknames.
You don't just negotiate trade deals, you frame them with combative verbs like kill and beat. Your own claims are amped up with hyperbole, nobody, ever. And if a loss does happen, it often gets reframed as the other side cheating.
And that brings us to our final section, how all these linguistic tools come together for one main goal: controlling the narrative. And this isn't just about persuading people, it's about using language to actively shape how the audience sees reality itself.
And maybe no phrase is more famous for this strategy than fake news. As this exchange right here shows, it wasn't just some casual insult. It really became a strategic weapon in his communication toolbox.
Linguistic analysis shows fake news works as a multi-purpose tool. First, it's a shield, a way to just shut down a line of questioning you don't like. Second, it's a way to reframe any negative story not as news, but as a corrupt, dishonest attack. And third, it's basically a wrecking ball, aimed at delegitimizing the entire institution of journalism in the eyes of his supporters.
So, to see how these narrative control strategies work when the pressure is on, the research points to how he handled the 2016 Access Hollywood tape scandal. It's a perfect case study of a very, very particular kind of public apology.
Okay, the timeline here is absolutely critical. So the tape drops, and it creates this huge political firestorm. A video statement comes out almost immediately. But then, and this is the key part, just 2 days later during a live debate, he pivots to an outright denial of the very things he was heard describing on the tape.
Researchers have broken this down into a clear 4-step playbook they call retreat and double down. So step 1, minimize the offense. Call it locker room talk. Step 2, mitigate its importance. This was many years ago. Step 3, deflect. Immediately pivot to attacking your political opponents. And finally, the double down. Later, deny the actions ever even happened. It's really less of apology and more of a strategy for narrative warfare.
So, when you look at it all through the lens of linguistics, a style that seems simple on the surface really reveals itself to be this complex, consistent, and highly strategic communication system. It's designed for interaction, for competition, and for total narrative control.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question. We've analyzed the mechanics of this style, but the bigger question is this just a one-off phenomenon? Or has it actually created a new and lasting blueprint for how political battles are going to be fought with words for years and years to come?